So CDC agrees with NRC that it is apparent that fluorides have the ability to interfere with the functions of the brain and the body by direct and indirect means.
Yes, CDC in connection with the Intergovernmental Work Group.
Next paragraph begins, fluorides also increase the production of free radicals in the brain through several different biological pathways. These changes have a bearing on the possibility that fluorides act to increase the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
And CDC agrees with that finding of the toxicologic literature.
Yes.
And you see the next section of on this page is titled Anatomical Changes in the Brain.
Yes.
And it begins, studies of rats exposed to sodium fluoride or aluminum fluoride have reported distortion in cells in the outer and inner layers of the neocortex. Neuronal deformations were also found in the hippocampus and to a smaller extent in the amygdala and the cerebellum. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
And CDC agrees with that finding as a summary of the hazard.
As it relates to rat studies, yes.
Okay. And you see the next highlighted portion in that paragraph?
I do.
It reads, the substantial enhancement of reactive microglia, the presence of stained intracellular neurofilaments, and the presence of IgM observed in rodents are related to signs of dementia in humans. The magnitude of the changes was large and consistent among the studies. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
And CDC agrees with the NRC that this is a correct summary of the hazard.
Correct.
You see under recommendations on that page?
Yes.
The first sentence reads, on the basis of information largely derived from histological, chemical, and molecular studies, it is apparent that fluorides have the ability to interfere with the functions of the brain and the body by direct and indirect means. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
So CDC agrees with NRC that it is apparent that fluorides have the ability to interfere with the functions of the brain and the body by direct and indirect means.
Yes, CDC in connection with the Intergovernmental Work Group.
Boom, there it is. Oh. All right.
So that was the CDC Director of Oral Health, and he conveniently has recently retired. It seems that the rats are jumping ship right now.
Wow, a 7-year-long lawsuit that the mainstream media just refused to cover. I've sent this story to Brett Weinstein. I've sent it to Tim Pool. I've sent it to all the media outlets that still will publish the truth that are out there. And we're going to make sure that someone reports on this story, Brenda. So
it's being reported now. I've seen AP did a headline. Reuters has an article out today. CBS. They're finally covering our lawsuit because we won.
Yeah, now they're forced to. They have to. I mean, that's like, if it was there's nothing there, then yeah, that's great. And then I love how he had to throw in there in rats, and he look up from his but yeah, still that didn't matter.
Yeah,
the biology is similar enough.
The National Research Council in 2006 did a review on EPA's maximum contaminant level standard on fluoride. And that's what my attorney was grilling him on, is like, they knew there were all these warning signs and all this research indicating that fluoride is impacting the brain in a negative way, yet they didn't want to know, and they didn't want to admit it, and they did not want to study it.
This is just a repeat of the whole the whole study that the CDC did with that was exposed in Del Bigtree's documentary there, with the link between certain vaccines and given administered to children too early could lead to the development of autism, and it could explain the autism cases and stuff. So it's still an untold story, but this is a very important milestone and victory in what is an ongoing case in the fight to make America healthy again, as I call it. I don't know if you support that movement and everything, but
I do.
Yeah, I'm sure. This is just a big fight against the government, and the CDC has a long history of not wanting to admit the truth about what the government's really doing. I mean, this is their job, is to like investigate how many people we're killing and how they're being killed, and what's causing the harm, and report on it to the American people so that we can put a stop to it and know. And they've just been covering it up and lying about it for decades. It's just what's the important things? So this is a big.
Yeah, I emailed you some of the highlights.
Yeah, I posted those right in the description right below, so people can go and check those out, the pages. And I don't know, is there a link to this entire document? I found
Yes.
one. Is there a link to that online somewhere that you could post for us so that I can share that with people as well? I have a link to another one of the case documents from, I mean, this has been going on for 7 years. So you search for this and you find a lot of other PDFs with case documents and files. It's not easy to do the research for people that aren't lawyers and have law degrees, or at least.
Okay, I can join the chat.
In the private chat here. Okay, what is this? Foodandwaterwatch.org.
Yep, that's the link to the case.
There it is. That's the one. All right, I'm going to update that in the description right now.
Yeah, so the first, I see comments about autism. The first ever United States study was conducted and published in May, and it did find that children with mothers that had fluoride in their urine had a higher prevalence of autism-like symptoms. I can link that study as well.
Yeah, you've met my wife, and my wife is convinced that the vaccine that her daughter got as an infant at 15 months old, she developed autism, and she was 700 words, full speech, to completely nonverbal after that vaccine, and she's convinced that the vaccine is what did it. And she's met literally thousands of other parents. There were huge groups forming on Facebook around this, and lots of people waking up to it. And then right around the same time that all the political bans and all that other stuff started going down, they had this big crackdown on misinformation led by, Mark Zuckerberg. And they just banned all the big groups that had tons of followers. Mothers had put their worked like hours and hours to develop these huge followings in these Facebook groups with tons of other mothers who are warning other mothers not to get these vaccines, and the dangers, that this was not tested, all the backdoor trickery and criminality that was going on with the big pharma and the government, the back doors between government and big pharma, and really exposing this stuff on a large scale. And Mark Zuckerberg, in his effort to fight misinformation on the internet, disbanded all those groups, shut them all down, and like ruined years of research and work, and just disbanded and tried to fragment these movements and these groups as much as possible. But it's good that you've persevered and were able to get the people together to do this. And actually,
yeah. I mean, I'm just one small part of this huge puzzle, and I've been so fortunate to have, Michael Connett was our lead attorney. We had Chris Nidell, who was another one of our attorneys. Michael is the son of Dr. Paul Connett. Dr. Paul Connett wrote a book called The Case Against Fluoride, and how, it's in our water based on politics, not science. And, Dr. Paul Connett was an environmental chemist and toxicologist. And Michael's mom Ellen was a very big advocate in environmental issues. And so Michael came from, the top of the line, parents, and he's just been thrown into this and dedicated so much of his life to understanding the history of fluoride. And we couldn't have asked for better attorneys. We were really, really fortunate.
That's awesome. I think I found the guy here. Is this him?
Yes, that's Dr. Paul Connett. That's Michael's dad.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah.
I've just been like crying on and off since I got the verdict, like driving in my car crying, because I feel so awful there were so many scientists in history that were sounding the alarm on this issue, and they have since died and they have not seen this verdict. And they dedicated their whole lives to how fluoride is an allergen, and some people are intolerant to fluoride when you add it to their water, and they don't identify those symptoms as being intolerant to fluoride. They just think that, they have, these digestive issues constantly, or, stuff like that.
Right. And then makes you hyperallergenic. And then we're wondering why does these people have peanut allergies? Where do these peanut allergies come from? And it's crazy that it takes us decades to recognize poisons in the environment, and then decades more to actually do something about it.
Yeah. Fluoride started in 1945. It came out of the Manhattan Project, and that's where PFAS chemicals came out of as well. So when they were developing the bombs to drop on Japan, they needed the fluorine to enrich the uranium and the radioactive materials. And they actually found that it was the fluoride that was causing central nervous system damage and mental confusion in the employees at DuPont. And the US government was worried that, these employees would going to hurt themselves at work or hurt somebody else. And they were also afraid of all the farmers suing them because these smokestack emissions were causing problems with crops and animals. So the government needed to find a benefit to fluoride. And they found, somebody studying fluoride, that they found that people with the fluorosis teeth, which was an indicator of too high of fluoride in the water, had less tooth decay. But they kind of glabbed onto that and then said, fluoride is great for your teeth. It reduces tooth decay. But those people drinking that water had high mineral content of, magnesium and calcium and phosphorus and things that our teeth actually need. So the high mineral content in that groundwater was probably what was reducing the tooth decay, not necessarily the fluoride. And we really don't know if fluoride reduces tooth decay because all the studies that have been done have not been done randomized. They have not been a randomized controlled trial yet. They're trying to do one right now in North Carolina on children, on babies, which seems a little unethical considering that we know that fluoride lowers the IQ. And we have multiple studies now that have been funded by the National Institutes of Health that find that fluoride lowers IQ at the levels of 0.7, which is the optimal level that the Center for Disease Control or Center for Disease Creation promotes. So this randomized control trial, I don't know where it is in the process of conducting this study. I feel awful for the parents who are unknowingly lowering their kids' IQ potentially by giving them this water to find out if it reduces tooth decay or not. And, there's been a couple studies now on tooth decay in like the UK and stuff, and they find that it might decrease tooth decay by 3 or 4%, which, they promote 25% is the reduction rate. but that's just like an over exaggerated estimate that fluoride promoters, basically they manufactured, these facts and these talking points. And they've been using these talking points for over 20 years, and they're kind of old. I just want to give a plug. I do have a website. It's called fluoridelawsuit.com. And if you go to /science, the science page, Karen Spencer and I have a really nice list of a bunch of studies that have been conducted, and we put them in order of year. So we've been compiling this basically since 2015, because around 2015, Health and Human Services came out and said that the level of fluoride in the drinking water, the optimal level back then was 1.0 to 1.2, and they actually dropped it down to 0.7 because too many kids had the fluorosis or the white spots on their teeth, which is an indication of too much fluoride. So even though they dropped that level around 2015, 2013, now there's about 70% of children in the US that have those white spots, because we don't just get fluoride from our drinking water. We're drinking teas that have fluoride. Our dental products, every time we go to the dentist, they want to paint it on our teeth. We're brushing with it. If you look on the kids' toothpaste, they have these bubble gum and watermelon, delicious flavors. And then it says, do not swallow, but
fluoridated water for babies.
Yeah.
They sell it right at CVS. It's the pink. It's the jug with the pink label on it.
Yeah, but you notice there is no medical claims on there saying that it reduces tooth decay. They can't put that on the label.
Babies don't have teeth.
So back when they started to add fluoride to the water, they believed that it was incorporated into the teeth below the gums when the teeth were developing. So if you go to the science page at the top, go to the science bar, that'll have all the studies. So they believed that the teeth were, incorporating with fluoride in, below the gums. And now we know that that is not how fluoride works. It works topically, not systemically. Yeah. So there's all.
So if I take long showers, I'm absorbing it right through my skin.
Yep. Especially a hot shower.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Man,
I don't know how much you're absorbing.
Hot showers. I know a lot of people that do.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you're breathing it, But tea is a huge source of fluoride, and people don't realize that.
Yeah. It messes up all your glands and organs and stuff.
Yeah, like you can't deny that.
These are all science studies, published studies on here.
They're all peer-reviewed, published journal, published
where
science.
did Carlos go now, huh? Carlo? We're not, how you like our sources now, Carlo. I see, like, we have one troll in the audience, like they always get one, But those are the guys that will sit there and tell the astrophysicist, you don't know what you're talking about.
And that's okay. We need those people too, because they are a form of entertainment for me.
Yeah, they are. Look at all these lawsuits. I mean, look at all the studies on here. This is like, yeah, this is great. This is like when I found the NCIRP. What is it though? I'm gonna find this now again. Is this it? No, I got something wrong. No, this is not it either. It's I found this radio frequency website database when all the coronavirus 5G conspiracies were going around about 5G stuff. I found the whole website that had I did a whole report on this if you go back to my videos on the 5G stuff. But yeah, I found a whole website with all the studies and all the law, like it has all the medical, like, all there.
Yeah. I use frequency specific microcurrents for my asthma, so I don't have to use medication. So it's like they've used radio waves and, electrical frequencies for all kinds of things. You can heal bones quicker.
Right. This is like the Royal Rife stuff. I had that guy on, the grandson of Royal Rife on. He's working on that technology to, and then they're so suppressed on it. For years they said it didn't exist, and now medical studies are coming out saying like they got results and all this stuff, and it's
Yeah.
calling it different names, and they changed the terminology, and it's like, oh, if you don't use the language, then you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, no, people figured this out before, and you call them quack jobs and banned it from the medical literature because all this stuff could be weaponized. And then all this, the research that they went and did into it, well, they told people it didn't exist, went into like weaponizing it for, Havana syndrome stuff and all this crazy weaponry I've talked to people that worked on some of that stuff. So I want to look up real quick about the coronavirus. Yeah, it was 5G, right? 5G. I'm gonna find that website and post it here. But
Carlo Rossi, isn't that that shitty wine in the jug? They should look at the fluoridation facts of the American Dental Association if they want to criticize bogus studies and talking points.
yeah, this is the one right here, and I use the same thing to shut down their the people on the 5G stuff right there. Let me just, why is this frozen? There we go. It's unfrozen now. Here's the website. It is icnirp.org. And you can go right here for the publications, and you can get literally a bibliography of all the shortwave length EMF frequency facts. There's a whole bunch of, and these have links, all the studies that have been done to show like what levels of radiation of these frequencies that you need to cause damage to cells and biological systems and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very useful way guideline for understanding, the potential dangers. And there are certain frequencies that have there are bad frequencies that have bad effects.
Yeah, and there's good ones too that can have healing effects that
Right.
you can't patent, and you won't make a millions and billions of dollars on. And I think that that's why some of this electrical energy medicine is not widely known.
Right. And that's why we're still fluoridating people, because we think it's going to make them have healthier teeth.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever really thought fluoride was going to give healthy teeth. When you look at the research, there was a great book by Christopher Bryson called The Fluoride Deception. And it is an audio book as well on YouTube. But the book goes all into the history of fluoride and the Manhattan Project. And then Phyllis Molnick did the first ever rat study back in the 90s on fluoride. And she was hired by the dentist because the dentist wanted to, shut up the conspiracy theorists that kept saying that's it. They wanted to, stop the conspiracy theorists from saying that fluoride was dumbing us all down. So they hired Phyllis to do a study on rats because she came up with this computer system that would use cameras, and it could evaluate the behaviors of the rats and pick up subtle changes from neurotoxic effects of different chemicals. And she thought that she was going to find no effect from fluoride, and so did the dentist that hired her. But then she did find that it did cause ADHD symptoms in the rats, and they presented it to like the dental groups and stuff. And that was it. She never conducted any more research on neurotoxicity. They basically removed her funding. But then one of her supervisors was Dr. Harold Hodge from the Manhattan Project, and he was the lead toxicologist for fluoride and also the human radiation experiments.
Weird. Oh, the human radiation. That's the one they fed radioactive meals to soldiers without them knowing, right?
And they would also tell people they had cancer who didn't have cancer so they could see what radiation and chemo would do to the body without them, actually having the cancer. The human radiation experiments were very inhumane. They did all kinds of things on people. But yeah, I think it was Quaker Oats that had the kids join the science club and then fed them radioactive tablets or nutrients to kind of evaluate how it traveled around the body.
Yeah, no, this guy's funny, hilarious. Why would I block him? I hope none of my admins blocked him, man. I need entertainment for tonight. It needs to be at least, one energy vampire out there trying to just waste people's time. Yeah, no, but this is all legit stuff. I just can't believe that. Well, I can see, like, I mean, we're talking about a community that put the guy who just came up with germ theory and suggested that hand washing would reduce infections during surgery. They put him in a mental hospital. And they
Yeah.
killed him. They beat him. So this is the community we're talking about. And yeah, there are good doctors, there are good people in the industry and stuff. And it's just crazy what a few people have done with the control at the top of just the medical insurance industry, and then the insurance companies and big pharma, and how they've totally co-opted and corrupted, from the top down, so many of our hospitals across America. We need like a solid plan for really. I just can't think of anyone besides Robert F. Kennedy who's said more and talked to more of the right people about how we fix all of these problems with the poisons and the cover up of the poisons and everything from like food to water to the shampoos and hand lotions and other products that we we consume and absorb into our bodies through our skin or what have you. So yeah, make America healthy again is where I'm at here, and I just the people currently running the show have just like helped cover up so much of this stuff, and no one gets held accountable. All the people are allowed, a guy who doesn't, allows his son to run billion-dollar businesses, even though he's a crackhead and like going out with prostitutes and stuff. And yeah, this is like who's running. These people get second chances and they cover up their crimes and no responsibility. And we're all left in as the lab rats, suffering and paying for all this. And
Yeah. We're the useless eaters, we're the collateral damage, we're the people in industry, the government agencies are all captured, and then they make us sick through the choices that they give us for our food. There's only a few industries that make all of our food and make all of our pharmaceuticals and make the pesticides. And, it's just this vicious cycle where we're cash cows to these industries from cradle to grave.
Yeah. So this Carlo, do you know who Carlo Rossi is? Have you encountered this guy before?
No. It's like a shitty wine that we used to drink in high school.
Right. Yeah. This is like, you might as well call himself Mad Dog 2020. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I've studied this from my perspective. I'm not an expert, but I know there's a lot of paid experts that lie, and there's a lot of people in this like industry out there that just get paid to lie. So I don't know who you want me to have on as an expert, other than I'm having a firsthand witness that was involved with the lawsuit, and they won the lawsuit. There was plenty of experts involved in the lawsuit, right?
Yeah, we had some of the best experts in the world. We had like Dr. Grandjean. His mercury and air research set the mercury air standards for the CDC and the US. We had Dr. Bruce Lampier. His lead research that he conducted, he found that there was no safe level of lead. And the US government used his research to set their drinking water lead standards. You know, these experts that we have in our lawsuit, they're not just researching fluoride. They're researching all sorts of environmental chemicals that we're being exposed to, you know, BPAs and phthalates and all kinds of stuff. So these, you know, the EPA, it was hilarious, kind of. It's sad. The EPA could not put any of their in-house scientists on the stand in 2020 when we were in court because they all agreed fluoride is a neurotoxin to the brain and they did not know what level was safe. They could not find a safe level. And so EPA had to go and hire their experts for this case from Exponent, which is a science for hire company that the pharmaceutical and pesticide companies hire from, and the tobacco companies when they need experts to pick apart every study to manufacture doubt. You know, there's some great books on manufacturing doubt and studies and how, you know, maybe that Carl Rossi is one of those, you know, paid trolls to manufacture doubt. Who knows? Are you muted? I can't hear you.
I don't think Carlos knows, you know, who he's dealing with or the room, because if he thinks he's convincing anybody with his slanderous, just, you know, post your own sources, man. We got like pages, fluoridelawsuit.com/science. People can go and look up all of the studies and the science on this. It's amazing what our government has covered up. The CDC are criminals. I think people should be held criminally responsible at the CDC. I believe that the CDC is probably paying PR companies to, you know, hide their crimes and the fact that they've covered up this stuff and dragged these lawsuits. I mean, this is settled science. If there ever was such a thing as settled science, this is settled. This stuff is a neurotoxin. It is dangerous. It is not good for people, and they should not be just pouring it and pumping it in our water supply. There's enough of it in our toothpaste and everything else in the environment. And the studies on what other damages it's causing are not well documented. It's hard to isolate something like that and actually do a study on that where you can conclusively determine that yes, it's the fluoride that's causing, you know, this or that, and you know, these people could, you know, if this was disinformation and this was all misinformation, man, I swear I have 100,000, over 100,000 YouTube subscribers. You know, I think I'd have more than 95 people watching it live, man. The disinformation gets tons of views. It gets boosted in the algorithm. And when you start talking about the truth or stuff like this, which is real news, real information, real powerful stuff, man, they censor it hard. And yeah, I wouldn't doubt that they have PR managers to come in and try to sway the public opinion around these issues in whatever deceitful and underhanded ways that they can. No, I'm not ashamed. I am proud to speak the truth and have Brenda here on tonight to share firsthand knowledge of this lawsuit. This is a massive victory for all of us in the movement against a corporate establishment that has tried to undermine and destroy science in this country and destroy people's health and then cover it up. And that is more shameful and disgusting than me being completely wrong and this being all disinformation tonight. Everything I've said to the 95, 100 people watching me tonight, I will gladly take that to my grave and sleep soundly every night. If this is all false and every single study on this list is complete pseudoscience, then I'd be much happier that I sat here and told people to look into this and prove that it's all pseudoscience than I would be to be like this Carlos fellow or whoever he thinks he is, trying to say that I don't understand science and I'm a charlatan. And dude, you're a riot. You're right, and you're not a fan of justice, especially for corporations. These people are criminals, they're killers, they're murderers, they're liars, they're psychopaths. And as long as they're making a profit at the end of the day, they don't care. We've seen how
Karen Spencer always says they're protecting their power, prestige, and paychecks.
Yeah.
So I have a meeting tomorrow with my attorney, and I will find out. Now, we anticipate EPA is going to appeal this verdict, but I do not think the EPA lead attorney is going to take on the appeal. It's very damaging for attorneys to have losses on their record, and I believe, based on the verdict that we got, the way that it was written, it will be a very hard case to win an appeal for EPA. The way that the judge wrote that decision seems very bulletproof. So we'll see. We'll see if EPA wastes more of our money defending this harmful chemical, or if they will actually do their job. And it's really ridiculous that we have to sue the EPA to do their job, and there's lots of court cases right now against EPA for different chemical litigation because they don't do their job. It seems that EPA protects the polluters and not necessarily the people, which is sad. And on my website also, if you go to the actions page, my girlfriend Karen, she's a data analyst. Her and I have sent letters to CDC for years of just like, here's the latest studies that you've been ignoring, just to kind of give them notice and make sure that, because sometimes these governmental agencies, they don't really know what's going on because it's so I can't say it. There's so many different departments.
Yeah. A lot of them need to be continuously reminded and informed. It'd be good for everyone in this chat to CC and send these emails over again to make sure that they, know how many people are aware of this. This is all great stuff. This is holding government agencies accountable, exposing cover-ups, and the methodologies of how they use science in the process of cover-ups. Methodology is key. There's a whole methodology that scientists use in corporations to cover up their crimes. And this is ripe. There's so many billionaires, so many millionaires that could be made right now. If you're into science and you're into law, dude, there's so many people that are going to be sued in the next 10 years on all this stuff. You could listen to Carlo, who's probably being paid to cover up these crimes, or you could join in and get educated on them and get involved. I know tons and tons of people who watch this channel who've sued the government for all kinds of things. I know people that watch my channel and have donated to me that made millions of dollars just by suing the government. So I love when these clowns come on and try to tell me I'm a bad faith actor and I'm doing this on blind faith. Nah, man, my people eat your people alive. And thanks for watching, and thanks for being here, Brenda. Let's have any questions from the audience for Brenda. If we have anyone have any Invite me on a call. Why? Who are you, Carlos? Why should I invite you on my call?
I think we're giving too much airtime to Carlos.
Yeah, his credentials, man. You know what? This is not about Carlos. This is about Brenda, and it's about this lawsuit. And I'm gonna let you talk. And what else? What else is here? So these are. Should I read these? Should I read these?
You don't have to read them. People, if they want to go and read them and skim them, it's basically we sent these knowing that we're going to get ignored. And actually, somebody sent me some FOIA emails where Rochelle Walensky, the head of CDC, had these emails marked as high priority for a response. But then after a response, then all further emails needed to go to the CDC attorney, not to the CDC scientists. So it's more, we've just been archiving this stuff, sending these notifications, giving them the material. We know that we won't get a response for them, but it's more of an archive that one day historians are going to be looking back at this and wondering, how could this have happened, and who knew what and when did they know it? And so
Right.
like this is just documenting and making a trail of all of that information.
This is great. This is good steps in the right direction. I'm so happy there's people like you out there doing this and not lying to, chat rooms and covering it up.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, We also keep an eye on all the environmental justice groups, like the White House has one, the EPA also has one. So whenever they do public comment, we make sure that we are sharing our information on our lawsuit and the latest science, because this is an environmental justice and social justice issue as well. They say that they add fluoride to the drinking water for the poor kids' teeth. Well, if you look at every low-income community and a fluoridated community that has been fluoridated for multiple generations, there's an epidemic of tooth decay. So the fluoride isn't necessarily helping the poor kids, even though the dentist will use that sob story, like, oh, if you take fluoride out of the drinking water, all the kids you're gonna make their tooth decay epidemic even worse, which I don't think the fluoride's helping. And a lot of the public has a distrust in their drinking water because things like fluoride are added to it. People don't want to drink fluoride. So then a lot of especially low-income people, whenever I go to the grocery store, I notice, who's using their EBT cards and how many of them are buying bottled water. Bottled water does not have fluoride in it unless you buy that nursery water in the jug, but none of the other bottled water adds fluoride to it that I'm aware of. And most of it, like Aquafina and Dasani, which are the big, Coca-Cola and Pepsi bottled water companies or brands, they don't have fluoride in their water. Most drinking water is they usually purify it through reverse osmosis and stuff like that. So, it is, and then when you add fluoride to the drinking water, it costs a lot of money to remove it once it's added. You can't just use a Brita filter to get it out. You need some pretty substantial filtering system that is pretty pricey. And you have to, constantly upkeep those and change out the filters and stuff like that. So you're harming the poor people more. And it's only the rich people that can really remove the fluoride from their drinking water. And most people with higher incomes probably do filter their house water.
Yeah, and just boiling your water doesn't get rid of the fluoride. So you have to distill it. If once the water has fluoride in it, you'd have to actually distill the water, boil the water and then can recondense it and collect the condensed water vapor in order to remove that fluoride. It's not like, you boil your water, you kill the bacteria, but you still got fluoride in it. So yeah, when I make tea, even cook spaghetti, I mean, I try not to use the tap water because it has this added fluoride to it, and it's just and also chlorine and other chemicals and stuff.
When they add chlorine when chlorine comes in contact with any sort of carbon-based molecule, it produces disinfection byproducts like trihalomethane and haloacetic acids. And those cause, bladder cancers and all kinds of different cancers in the body. And, EPA will admit that, there are disinfection byproducts created in our drinking water when they use chlorine. And there are some utilities in the state of Wisconsin that do not add chlorine. They are small utilities that get their water from the ground and they pass their microbiological tests. So they don't need to chlorinate and they don't use fluoride. So there are, some utilities. I don't know how many are in the whole country. But then, another concern that we have with filtering, for example, with reverse osmosis filters, is now that we're finding that that puts a lot of microplastics into our drinking water. And microplastics is a very big concern for, they say we eat like a credit card of plastic per week. The plastics are accumulating in our brains now. There's research associating it with autism and different dementia and stuff like that. So, water is very, very important. And I work in the water industry. I've been working in the water industry for over 6 years now. And I love water and I need it. And so I work really hard to do what I can to make it cleaner and safer for everybody, not just for me, but for everybody. And I try to share my knowledge with the water that I have because, I've been privileged enough to, travel the world and go to different conferences that specifically focus on drinking water and stuff like that, and wastewater as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure which companies produced that. I know there was this guy Nano Holdings down in Connecticut working on all these different types of filter technologies made out of like metals and stuff, and different types of metal screens and stuff that would filter out different types
Hmm.
of contaminants from the water. Um, yeah, I am. I've heard of that, and then like all the credit card worth of plastics a week. That's insane. I know a big one is they actually cans. You got to drink the stuff out of glass bottles if you're gonna, and then plastic, anything in plastic bottle, and then also cans are lined with plastic. They have a plastic liner inside the
Yep.
can, and so that plastic is super dissolved. I've seen like even especially like cans that are old, once they get past their expiration date, all that plastic's like slow. It's like it's got like a shelf life of about 6 months before you're drinking microplastics, and yeah, so old cans are no good. You just throw them away. If you got a bunch, someone has a bunch of old beverage cans and stuff, it's not worth it, the amount of plastic inside that each can that you're literally drinking and consuming.
I
It's
know. I think
that's
it's funny. I'm sorry to cut you off, but like Liquid Death, they have like the Death to Plastic whole campaign, and it's like, well, your cans are lined with plastic inside, so it's
yeah, so you think it's metal, but it's plastic. So yeah, the only safe way is like yeah, even the canned foods and stuff. Canned food, a lot of canned foods have like a plastic liner inside the canned food. So
yeah,
it's
it's like a BPA liner. And don't
and
be fooled when you see the label, it says BPA free. That might mean that it has BPS or BPB or one of the other BP chemicals. So it doesn't, and
ooh, all
those
this
are,
stuff should be banned completely, and it's not. And this is like a huge scandal. It's the some of these rich people doing this, but and then you use metal a scraper, a metal spoon to scrape out that can, and you're touching the liner, and that, guess what, the metal's a harder material than that plastic, and
like
it's
the PFAS,
yeah.
also like the PFAS pan. And now, you'll see some of the cookware will say PFOA free. Well, that's just one of over 1,000 PFAS chemicals. Like, don't be fooled by that. They use these little tricks in marketing that you think that you're getting a safe product, but it's just they removed that one harmful chemical and they just replaced it with one of the other PFAS family members that is just as harmful. It's just that we haven't had the science catch up with that chemical yet, that we know how harmful it is.
Right. And I'm glad that people are pushing those forward, and then also challenging the studies that do come out, like, because there's so many fraudulent studies that come out to cover the stuff up, and they're so well funded, and then they'll fund like so many of them and take over the whole peer review process, and then it's more profitable for them to hire a bunch of grad students to write a bunch of false papers, calling all the real science quackery, and them to promote that stuff on the news channels. And that's cheap. That's actually cheaper them from a business standpoint than dealing with the truth and the reality of the harm that their products and stuff are doing. And that's the sad capitalism. It's sad that capitalism works like that, and that people like Carlos are willing to sell their soul to the devil to sit here and be fraudulent. So
and it was actually the sugar industry that wrote the playbook on all of this. It wasn't the tobacco companies. The sugar companies came first, and then the tobacco companies used those playbooks to sell tobacco, and then how the tobacco companies now bought up a lot of the food companies because they had all this money, and then they changed the formulas in a lot of our junk food to make them more addictive to us. So like when we were kids, the junk food didn't have the same ingredients as they do now. They've changed the formulas so then we crave them so they can make more money, but it's also making us more sick in the long run.
Yeah. There's certain food chemical. There's like castor oil. There's a couple of them I've learned about, like the food oil, certain oils that they'll use. They have like the flavorings in them that it's like, what makes these McDonald's French fries so good, or those Lay's potato chips, so addictive that you can't have just one.
Yeah, I think Doritos figured it out with like the MSG. It's like, oh, I need a Dorito. It's like that MSG, like triggering your brain to crave those Doritos, those Cool Ranch Doritos. I haven't had one in like 20 years, but I used to love those back in the day.
I haven't. Yeah, I really don't. I stay away from that chip aisle altogether. I'll do like crackers and cheese, but like I don't really, I don't do like the chips and stuff. I
get the Wasa crackers. I don't know if that's how you say it. The German ones that have like, it's like rye, salt, and water. There's only like 3 or 4 ingredients in them.
Yeah, those sound good. Yeah, I like the pita crackers too, like the pita chips and stuff, where it's just pita chips and stuff. Those are good. But yeah, it is so much. You got to read all the ingredients in your food and know what all the words are for stuff. Like aspartame gives me a headache is another one. That's the whole history of aspartame.
Yeah, with Donald Rumsfeld.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like this should never ever have passed FDA approval, and if it weren't for Donald Rumsfeld, it never would have. They literally pushed this cancer-causing thing that's in all of our diet, all your Diet Coke, all your diet soft drinks, this artificial sweetener that's poison. It's another poison that's put out there. I mean, I know, because if it's aspartame in there, it has a weird aftertaste for me, and then I get a bad headache, and my body my body tells me you just drank poison. Like I'll like force myself to throw up if I accident, because sometimes now I don't do it anymore because it's the last time I did it, I had to force myself to like throw up because it was so bad, because I'll get such a bad headache from the aspartame. Yeah. And now I get, anytime I try a new soft drink that I'm not sure about, I always read the label. I always double check, because sometimes those Gatorades, like, they got oh my God, I didn't say it had 0 on the label, and you go and drink one of those by accident. It's just it's poison. It is poison. My body knows it's poison and tells me that it's poison, but some people just don't, they don't react the same, and who knows what it's doing to them long term. They drink it every day, So
Yeah, somebody in the comments had about East Palestine, Ohio, and how, there was that train crash. I just saw that the EPA has PVC, polyvinyl chloride, on their list of, I think, 5 chemicals that they need to do an evaluation on. Something to note is that PVC is what they replaced most of our drinking water pipes with when they took out the lead pipes. So there is indication that these PVC pipes are like breaking down into our water and adding microplastics as well. So it's like,
yeah, that's true, because the PVC is mostly used in the drain pipes, right? It was like
it
ABS
should
plastic.
be, but they use it in the source water pipes as well, like under your street and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen the big green ones that they put in. Those are PVC. Yeah, the big giant green ones. Those are new. It used to all be cast iron or some of them were concrete, and then also lead pipe. But yeah, that's why the plumb PB is lead on the periodic table, because it's plumbum, which is where plumbing comes from. Yeah. So, but yeah, I guess it's better than drinking lead, right? Lead's more toxic than the microplastics. I guess I'd probably rather drink the microplastics than the lead.
Yeah,
Or
I
had to
mean,
choose, but
it's like
really,
pick your poison, I guess.
yeah, huh? Geez, well, I mean, how much expensive would it be to replace it all with? And then there was tons of iron in the water too, with cast iron piping and stuff when that used. But then you get, I don't know if the copper leaches out too much, maybe a little bit, because a lot of supply lines are copper, but then a lot of the supply lines are being replaced with PEX now in homes. So the PEX it has plastics,
Yeah. And then they were using the lead solder with the copper pipes as well. I would think that probably a food grade stainless steel would be optimal, but that would be very expensive.
Yeah, of course, you could have platinum pipes, right? Whatever, some platinum iridium alloy would be the best. So something, but super expensive, and only the rich could afford plumbing. So I guess for us poor folk, we're gonna have to drink a little bit of microplastics until we can make enough money to afford better better housing materials. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's a pick your poison type battle in a lot of these cases. But yeah, as long as the science is out there and people are aware of the studies. But what is the link? So the link is the vinyl chloride that they spilled. That's like a liquid version. That's not like the PVC that's in pipes.
Yeah. It's not but I mean, that's what they make the PVC pipes out of.
Yeah.
Polyvinyl chloride.
Well, that's what's that cement, when you get in the plumbing aisle and you have to glue PVC together, it's literally the liquid PVC. So that's like the glue. So that's probably more like what spilled there is like the glue. Yeah, because that stuff hardens up and into, it literally melts the PVC on either side and then welds the two pieces together.
So at my last job, we had the same EPA representatives as East Palestine in Ohio, and they said, "Yeah, we're basically just being there as like for PR and to show our face, but we're not doing anything at all."
Yeah. So, and I'm trying to look for the comments for like people have had any questions, for you and stuff. But again, the troll has made it too distracting that I can't
I read drink bong water, but the bong water comes from your tap, right? Unless you're harvesting it from the rain, and you have to be worried about your roofing material if it's shingles, or you should have
Yeah,
a
if you
metal
get
roof.
asphalt shingles with fiberglass in them, or what, like the fiberglass holds those shingles together, or if you got, yeah, solar panels on your roof or what have you. Yeah, there's a lot to it. I mean,
We'll just have to eat more like animal fats to make our mitochondria make more water, because the byproduct of energy production is H2O. So maybe we don't need to intake as much water if we ate a higher fat diet and less carbs. Who knows? I don't know. That would be a good question for like a biochemist.
right, which apparently, Carlo is a biochemist, a rocket scientist, an astrophysicist, a lawyer, and a doctor. So, maybe we should just consult him.
We should make t-shirts.
But anyways, people who just joined, Brenda, the lovely Brenda on Twitter and Facebook, and she is one of the people who was involved in this class action lawsuit.
It's not a class action. It is a civil suit.
A civil suit, yeah. But there's a number of people. It wasn't just you that filed it, right?
Right.
It
It was me and two other moms on behalf of our children, and Food and Water Watch, Fluoride Action Network, Moms Against Fluoridation. And I think that is it for the plaintiffs. So me, Kristen Lavelle, and Audrey were the moms that filed suit.
And look at all the fraudulent studies you guys used to win that court case.
Well, we didn't use all those studies. We just used the neurotoxicity ones that the National Toxicology Program used in their systematic review on the neurotoxicity of fluoride. So that's one thing we haven't really touched upon, is that the US government actually did a systematic review on fluoride, and this review was initiated around 2016. And a draft was released in 2019, and then another draft in 2020. And both the drafts found that fluoride is a presumed neurotoxicant hazardous to human health. And the dentist cried, "Wah, wah, wah, you got to scrap that report and start all over." And they did remove that hazardous conclusion, but the report was supposed to come out so we went to trial in 2020. We were the first trial hearing over Zoom for federal cases, I believe. And then the judge paused our case after 2 weeks. He did not want to make a verdict or a ruling. He wanted to wait for this NTP report to come out. And EPA and everybody said that it was going to come out any day. And we waited in 2020, and then 2021 and 2022 and 2023. We waited and waited and waited. The judge finally subpoenaed this report in 2023, and we got it. And then we have all these internal emails saying that was finalized and ready for a release in 2022 in May. And we have internal emails where Health and Human Services stepped in and said that report is not coming out today. And so it was delayed. And then Judge Chen subpoenaed it, and it was released through our court case. We had to sign, I forget what it's called, but basically we couldn't talk about this report. And our attorney argued that, well, we have all this evidence that the report was given to like known lobbyists for fluoride, then why can't the American public see it? Because they're the ones who paid for this report. So the NTP released that report again as another draft in 2023. And then it finally became a published report in August 21st, it was released. And I believe Judge Chen, so we went back to court in 2024 in January and February, because my attorney is like, we can't just keep waiting for this report that may never come out, and it may never be a final document. So we went back to court in January and February, and we had testimony on the report by some experts, And we thought the judge would have ruled by like the end of February or March on our case, and it didn't happen. And we waited. And then we saw, August 21st, that NTP report came out, and it found, fluoride lowers IQ in children. They said that the most evidence, yep, that's my attorney, Michael Connett, the most evidence is at levels of 1.5 and above. So people are saying, well, that's not 0.7, that's added to drinking water. But in that report, the authors specifically stated that there are people in fluoridated communities of 0.7 that reach levels of 1.5 and above because they might be pregnant or drinking more water, or their kidneys aren't functioning properly, or they're, swallowing their toothpaste and drinking high levels of tea and stuff like that. So even people in 0.7 milligrams per liter, parts per million areas are exposed sometimes to the levels of 1.5 and above. So this report is waiting on there's another part of this report that has not been published yet. They did a meta-analysis, and that is allegedly being published this fall. And I'm really, really grateful to Judge Chen for not delaying the verdict any longer, because, now hopefully government agencies can take the action to warn pregnant women, or, WIC programs that are giving out formula where low-income people might be mixing their infant formula with tap water. Hopefully the word can get out that these people should avoid the tap water to, protect the developing brain, because that seems to be the critical time, or the critical window of harm is fetal development and the first 6 months of life, when there's a lot of rapid brain development that's occurring. I don't know if you wanted to play part of this video, or there's probably a lot of
This
clips.
is a big video. This is a long video, and I don't want to get hit with any copyright strikes for playing other people's content. That seems to happen whenever you share this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I just don't want to even risk it. I played one clip from Colbert Report with an interview, and it was like 2 minutes long, and I got the whole video banned. And
Oh, that sucks.
yeah, so I don't want to risk it, but people can go here to the fluoridelawsuit.com and watch the videos there. If you're interested in this, please share this with more mainstream. I mean, more mainstream. I don't think will cover this information. They're too cowardly.
They are today. Just
But
Google fluoride today.
yeah, Fluoride today. Yeah. See, make sure you guys Google it and then search for it in the algorithms on Twitter too, so it picks up that algorithm. Let's get fluoride lawsuit trending, and yeah, keep typing in fluoride lawsuit. Every search engine that you have, every connection that you have, every account that you have, do it on your phone, do it on your mobile, do it on your laptop. Type in fluoride lawsuit on every search bar. Let's try to get that trending.
Yeah,
And,
finally.
CBS News covered it. Wow, right here. So let's
Yeah, but the video they put with it is like a PFAS video. It's not even about our lawsuit.
yeah, that just shows how terrible the mainstream is. I don't even call it mainstream news, because we are the news now, that we've taken over. Like it's up to us, we the people, to do independent reporting. And this is what I try to do here today, interviewing you and talking about this important subject here today, because I mean, people complain about my news reporting, but look at this. You're really going to sit here and complain about me when CBS is out there with 500,000 viewers being fed this crap? So come on, please pick your battles, man.
Yeah.
Let's share this information, get it out there, make sure that we're bigger than the reach of CBS and these other state media companies. I don't call them mainstream. They're not mainstream. They're state media. And let's make sure that we get this message out there in a way that the the EPA, the CDC, and all these government cover-up agencies can't silence us anymore, and they're forced to be held accountable. And let's make America healthy again.
Yeah. Michael Connett did do an interview with RFK Jr. as well, like in the beginning of our court case stuff. I don't know how easy it is to find that.
What is this study? Oh, I didn't. A third of all medications are fluoride based these days. I didn't even know
Oh,
that.
yeah. There are fluorides and a lot of like antidepressants. That's why I use frequencies instead of asthma medication, is because they have a fluoride like propellant in the inhaler mist. And I would buy, it's broke now, but I had one of those little fluoride testers from Amazon. They're like a few $100, and I would measure my urine all the time to see how much fluoride was in it. And I couldn't get it very low. And I put it together that it may have been coming from my asthma medication.
So the inhaler, actually, the asthma medication that for your inhaler has fluoride in it.
Yeah, they use like a fluoro whatever compound. You just got to keep an eye out for fluoro, FLUO, in any sort of pharmaceutical, and that usually means that there's a fluoride or a fluorine in there somewhere. And like PFAS, that F is a fluorinated compound. But I was told
CFCs is the things destroying the ozone layer, chlorofluorocarbons too. So yeah, fluorine is very destructive.
Yeah, it's very aggressive. Dr. Peter Breggins, he's a psychiatrist. I was talking to him one time, and he said that they add fluoride to a lot of the pharmaceuticals to help it penetrate like the blood-brain barrier. So that's, like with the antidepressants, they want it to cross the blood-brain barrier, and that's why they use it. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that's why antidepressants are linked to dementia. Who knows? There's a lot of research that needs to be done. And it's great.
It's carrying stuff across that barrier, right? Because it's so, I think of, as a chemistry standpoint, I think of like fluoride as like the most energetic and fastest and angriest element on the periodic table. It's literally just, it's super reactive. It forms hydrofluoric acid, which is the strongest acid in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's it's a badass on the periodic table, and it's a very dangerous. It's like flubber, man. It's not really. I'm sorry. I'm being very unscientific here. I'm just trying to.
No, I'm just kind of reading through the comments, and somebody asked about the Tom's toothpaste. I think one of the problems with a lot of the toothpaste is that they've been purchased by a lot of the larger companies now, so it's not an independent natural company. And
I know. The thing is, like, there's only one brand of toothpaste I like, and it's fluoridated, but I don't think I'll ever stop using it. But hopefully I don't know. I just try not to swallow any of it. I don't know.
Somebody asked if I first heard about the dangers of fluoride from Phyllis Mulnix. No, I don't know how I first learned about it. Probably I was working on some of my own health issues and trying to resolve them. And a lot of the books I was reading kept saying, filter the fluoride out of your drinking water. And then my friend Frankie was dying of bone cancer, osteosarcoma. And he came to New York City when I was living there because I was on his bucket list. And he had one leg and a collapsed lung. And there was a study that had come out of Harvard by Basson, and it was on osteosarcoma, and they found that boys growing up drinking fluoridated water had a higher risk of developing bone cancer. And that resonated with me because Hayden, my oldest son now, who's now 22, I'm going to link the study in the comments. Hayden was in that age range, and the study was very controversial. And so I just went to PubMed and I started reading the research. And then, I found Fluoride Action Network, which is a very knowledgeable group. Michael Connett was involved with them, and Dr. Paul Connett, I believe, was one of the he was like a founder with his wife, Ellen Connett. So that's probably where I first learned about fluoride. It was just, the stars aligned and it was just one thing after another. Yeah, I'm probably in that picture that was just shown on their homepage. Oh, there I am too. But if
That's
you
it,
scroll
right
up,
there in this co. So yeah,
yeah,
that's great. I never went down this rabbit hole that deep. I know my brother sent me a bunch of stuff on it one time a couple of years ago and was like, "Yo, I did the investigation on this and I've been finding all this stuff and it looks really legit. Here's all this stuff." And I just was like, I really admit I have not dug into this topic and I'm not an expert on the science on all of it. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I am or argue studies with, people in the live chat or any of that. I'm just here to report on this because this is important news. I mean, you won the lawsuit. You proved that this is not, people have been trying to, sue the government and prove that, fluoride in drinking water is not safe. It's not healthy. It's not a good thing for anyone. And why are we adding this stuff artificially to all the drinking water? When we discovered it because we discovered it was high in drinking water in Colorado Springs back in the day has like a high fluoride levels, and but they noticed some kind of link between the cavities and the dentistry, and and there was this miracle discovery. That's the history that they teach and
yeah,
people in dentistry school. I always ask my dentists about this topic too to see what they know about it and get them talking about it. And so everyone goes to the dentist here, right? I mean, everyone goes to the dentist. So next time you're at the dentist, make sure you mention this study to them and ask them about what they think about it. Ask your dentist. Ask your oral, whoever cleans your teeth first, and then, when the dentist comes in to do that final check, make sure you bring it up with him and see what just to see what they say, and get enough people, we can change the whole view of people across the country on this once they become aware of the science and the stuff, because I think a lot of them are brainwashed with the indoctrination they receive in medical school and dentistry school or whatever, and that a lot of people are waking up to these truths, who have been part of the system and brainwashed by the system. So this is important step. If the one person you want to bring this up to is your dentist, right?
there's a lot of I'm sorry, IAOMT it's called. It's the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology. They originally petitioned EPA with us in 2016. IAOMT. And they are a very knowledgeable group of dentists who knew about the harms of mercury fillings, and they also are very aware of fluoride. And so you can find local dentists in your area that are IAOMT certified. And so you don't have to go to the regular dentist that's going to push fluoride on you. These dentists are, some of them use hydroxyapatite now instead of fluoride.
Huh. Awesome. Hey, we got a new member. This guy asked a question for you in super chat, and I hope we answered it. And now he's a member. Awesome. Thanks.
What was the question?
Oh, that was earlier. His question was, what about the CD scientist fired for research? And that was Phyllis.
She wasn't a CDC scientist at that time.
Okay.
But she was fired. She was hired by the dentist. And she's great. There's a documentary called Fluoride Gate that kind of covers some of the scandal. Dr. William Marcus, he was a EPA scientist that got fired in the 90s when he found that rats exposed to fluoride had higher levels of bone cancer. Yeah, that's his
I
story.
believe it. I believe it with everything that happened with COVID and the cover-ups there and the medical scandal in the industry and everything. This is, I believe it. I can't wait for more investigations and coverage to happen on this. And I hope the people I've shared this with will pick up this story and
Yeah.
share this, because this is a huge victory what happened today, and it's one of a very small steps in a much bigger fight to get America healthy again. And I just want to thank you on behalf of everyone on this channel and the American people for putting this together and doing this, Brenda.
It's my pleasure. I think it's really important, and I'm so grateful to you and others who have been sharing the story and helping in any way that you can.
Let's say, where did we met at a conference. I forget which one it was.
Tesla Tech,
Tesla Tech,
right?
right? And I'm like, she starts telling me about all this stuff with the fluoride and everything, and I think you were going. I think you connected with my wife on this stuff because she's into a lot of that too. So this is great that
It was a few years I saw you at Tesla Tech.
Yes, yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's right. And yes, I'm glad that I got to go back. They had the recent one this year, and I caught it on the live stream and stuff. But I some point, and then we went to the technologies conference or something too. I think another one after that. No, there was another conference.
Did you go to the space one that Mark
Yeah.
and I went to?
Yeah, that space conference, that was great. It was like right after Tesla Tech too. So
Yeah.
and then you told me about the fluoride stuff back then, and this lawsuit, and I can't believe it's been 7 years that you've been.
It's been half of Co's life.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's amazing. That's
but I
amazing.
feel like I took the shortcut because there were so many researchers that worked on this for 60 years or 70 years.
Imagine when they didn't know anything, they were just like, "Oh, there's this correlation. We're going to start using it." And then how long it would take to actually narrow it down and do the studies and figure it out. And then all the whole industry, the fact that there's this is a byproduct, and these people are trying to get rid of this waste product by adding it to all the drinking, just dumping it in the drinking water to get rid of this waste, and the money involved in that, and what they'll have to, if this becomes classified as neurotoxin, and the it's just amazing the industry pushback and the cover up and how long it's lasted because of all the people that are in the vested interests in protecting the lies, right?
I have a funny story. A couple weeks ago, I met with one of the large chemical companies. I'm not going to mention their name, but they are the ones that sell the chemicals to most of the utilities. And I was like, hey, just curiosity, is there a lot of water chemicals that we add that contain lead and fluoride, or lead and arsenic in the chemicals? And they said, oh no, just the fluoride chemicals, because they're contaminated with lead and arsenic, which it's just because fluoride is a waste product of the phosphate fertilizer in aluminum manufacturing. When these emissions go out into the environment, they're big pollutants. So they have to be captured through these wet scrubbers. And then they end up with this water slurry with fluoride and arsenic and lead and radioactive materials, all kinds of like junk. And the guy, I was like, isn't that odd that we add fluoride for dental benefit or for a health benefit, and it contains lead and arsenic? And he's like, yeah, actually that is really weird, because the EPA has a maximum contaminant level goal of 0 for both lead and arsenic. And here we are adding little tiny small doses of this stuff into our water on purpose. And then one of the other
Yummy.
a different group of people who work in the water industry, they were like, I told them how much I liked fluoride, and they said, oh shit, you got to go take a tour of the chemical company that sells it to the water utilities. And they said that they have impeccable weed control on the grounds. And they asked them, like, what do you do for your weed control? And they said that, oh, we just use the fluoride chemicals and we go around and spray it along the fence and stuff, and it keeps everything dead. And these guys were like, oh shit, like, we're drinking this shit. You're putting this in almost everyone's drinking water. And the state that these people were from and the chemical company is in is one of the states that mandates that the utilities have to add it. Fluoride can't be mandated by the EPA because it's against the Safe Drinking Water Act to use our public water supply as a vehicle to medicate the public. And fluoride is a medication because it is used to prevent or treat the disease of dental decay. Fluoride promoters will argue that it is a nutrient. It's like adding vitamin D to milk or folic acid to bread. But, you know, with folic acid and vitamin D, not folic acid, but folate. I don't know if you guys know about folic acid versus folate and how folic acid is actually like toxic to us.
Really, they sell it as a vitamin. You can just eat as a supplement. It's like vitamin B, right? It's a B vitamin, right? But
yeah, but they say that the folic acid one is the one that they always give to pregnant women, and they think that it's linked to like asthma in their babies and stuff like this. So you actually need folate.
This is B8 or something. No, I thought B6 was what the babies needed right now.
So folate and folic acid, one is synthetic and one is natural, but they're like the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, with vitamin D and folic acid or folate, like we have diseases if we don't have these nutrients. But with fluoride, if you don't have fluoride, you're going to be completely fine. You know, it's not a nutrient. There is actually no biological function for fluoride in the human body. There's no cellular metabolism that utilizes fluoride. It's a poison to the body and to the cells. And that's the first use of fluoride was a rat poison back in the day. And they also used it, Merck used it to suppress thyroid function for people who had hyperthyroidism. Well, now most of the women in this country, or a very high percentage of them, have to take thyroid medication to try to raise their thyroid activity. And I wonder how much fluoride in our drinking water plays a role in that need. And they are starting to research that now too, because they think that maybe that is one of the ways that fluoride is lowering the IQ of the babies, is because it lowers the thyroid activity of the mother when she's pregnant with the baby and it's developing rapidly. But, you know, we need more science. And, you know, it's great that all of this, you know, this lawsuit and the NTP report and everything, it has been really making more people in the scientific community curious about this. So there is more funding going towards fluoride and really understanding the effects of it on the human body, because we didn't
Awesome.
study the brain back in the day.
Because you could have, you know, just disgusting, irresponsible people, you know, saying that there's no evidence for this and that you know, there's no need for us to even investigate this. All these people are quacks.
I hear it all the time.
You know, and it's important that, you know, a lot of the COVID was a big, you know, starting point for a lot of people. There's still a lot of holdouts and people that are still under the whole, you know, vaccines are safe and essential, and you know, there's still people wearing masks and still people wearing 2 masks. But you know, there's so much bad recommendations and science that has come out of the CDC. It's just great to see them lose yet another lawsuit, right? The CDC was involved in this lawsuit, right?
It's the EPA.
EPA. This was the EPA. All right.
We deposed CDC's experts because CDC champions water fluoridation as a top 10 public health achievement of the 20th century. But CDC does not really research fluoride. They are more of the advertisement wing of fluoride.
Got it. Yeah, right. But they had to admit in this lawsuit that there was no benefits. That was the opening clip that I played at the very, very start of this, right?
Yeah, they admit that fluoride works topically, not systemically. They don't have any evidence of safety, especially for the developing baby or fetus. And they agree with the 2006 National Research Council report on fluoride, which I have it right here and it's huge. Just to give you an idea of, the government has known that there was some warning signs with fluoride or indication that it wasn't as safe and effective as they've been promoting it to be. And nothing has been done since 2006 until now.
Hold that book up again for us right here so you can see that. Oh, wow. How thick is that? Huh? That's a nice.
I think it's 506 pages. But granted, a lot of the pages are, citations. But it's,
Nice.
It says in this book, it's apparent that fluoride interferes with the brain and, it is an endocrine disruptor. One of the experts in this book, one of the authors of this government report, was an expert in our case, Kathleen Thiessen.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. I got a lot of reading to do, a lot of catch up to
I know. There's so much.
Topic. I got to go watch all these interviews and check out these videos on the fluoridelawsuit.com website. I got to dig deep on the Fluoride Deception, which I got the whole book here for free on PDF that I just found online, 400 pages. So people want their homework on this subject. This is a great place to nerd out, and I hope I can get some nerds out there interested in venturing down this rabbit hole. And maybe someday, if you can do like a decade or more of research, you'll be as educated as Carlos is on these things.
I know. I can have a PhD piled high and deep.
Great. And then you could sue everyone and win. So do you get any money from this lawsuit? Is there any like financial thing? I mean, how this probably cost you more money than you get from it, right?
Yeah, we fundraised the entire thing. EPA spent a lot more money than we did. I can guarantee that.
That's good.
But we have to submit our costs to the court within 2 weeks, I believe. And the judge or the court will determine if we will get reimbursed for partially our, part of our expenses or not.
Oh, there you go. For it.
I don't think it's going to be we've probably spent over $500,000 on this. It won't be that.
Right.
And, we're not suing for money. We're not trying to get a monetary gain out of this. We're just trying to get EPA to do their job. And not everybody can afford to force EPA's hand like this. And our case is the first to use TSCA Section 21 and to make it this far in court. So we are setting the precedent for future chemical litigation with this specific TSCA rule.
That's awesome. And I hope, we can see more people digging into this and also fighting. It's good that they had to, the goal isn't really to get them to have to like spend money and pay money and stuff. And in fact, it's just disgusting how they waste money and how much money they waste for this kind of stuff, which, you know, honestly, you wouldn't have to waste any money if you just got someone to come up and be like, look, we screwed up and we admit it. And, you know, and that's so much more honorable at the end of the day too. And so less expensive. But why? Well, why bother?
It would be more expensive because if they're like, oh, by the way, we fucked up all your kids' brains and all those learning
Yeah,
disabilities that
true.
all the schools are being
Accountability and
overburdened with.
liability. Yeah, that's true. That there's liability. That's like that's like, man, that's like saying, you know what, there is something that's like admitting that you're guilty of murder. Yeah, I guess that's well, if that was the case, then I definitely pay some people to go out there and flog chat rooms and forum slide the chats and all that stuff. That would I wouldn't want to go to jail for murder, you know?
Yeah. When you damage somebody's brain, that is permanent. And that's what we've been really stressing is like, okay, maybe it reduces tooth decay. They say it reduces tooth decay by 25%. They've been saying that over 20 years. That equals less than a cavity for your 40 years of drinking fluoridation. It's like a half of a cavity to maybe a cavity is what that 25% equals, which is it worth like one or a half of less cavity to permanently cause brain damage that you can't reverse? You can fill a tooth, you can fill a cavity, but you can't fix a broken brain. And then when you harm somebody's brain, they're more likely to be addicted to drugs and alcohol, criminal behaviors, lower
Lose
income.
all their teeth anyway, so it's
The highest fluoridated communities have some of the lowest amounts of teeth left in their mouth when they get old. Like the state of Kentucky, it's like almost 100% fluoridated because they have natural fluoride and they added to the drinking water. It was one of those states that was mandated. And it's like the number 1 or number 2 states in the US with toothless people, you know? Are you muted again? I can't hear you, Jeremy. You got to unmute yourself.
we can't distinctively link those two together because, you know, that could be caused by anything. How do you know that that's our poison that we're putting in the water that's causing it? Just because there's a higher level of it in that water doesn't, you know, I don't know. These things were proven and we won in court today. And that's why we're celebrating, you quack. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you for participating in gaslighting.
I know we should remember those, remember Napoleon Dynamite? They had those t-shirts.
Yeah.
Like vote Pedro.
Carlos.
We could do a vote Carlos. Carlos
Yeah.
Rossi.
We should put him in charge of the CDC. He sounds like a real honorable, trustworthy guy. I'd like his opinion on all this stuff. And I really, you know, please lie to me more.
I see somebody said Emoto. Do you remember Emoto? He would say words to the water and it would make different shapes.
Yeah. I don't know. That guy was. I guess there's a lot of controversy around those studies, and a lot of people calling that guy a quack and all that stuff too. And I tried it myself, and I didn't get the same results. I'm sorry.
I have a microscope. I should try it.
I did the intentional water freezing, and you know, I swore at my water. I felt like a nut job. Yeah, I was like, what am I doing? This is crazy. This is insanity. And yeah, I didn't get the same results. So I don't know. Try it yourself, man. It sounds like it. Yeah, if there is some quackery out there, and I like the fact that there are people out there, you know, trying to distinguish and pick apart the quackery and what's not quackery and stuff. And you know, a 7-year lawsuit is great. That's not quackery. This is not quackery. We point out a lot of quackery on this show, and I expose a lot of quackery, dude. This is it's quackery that this is like the quacks that locked up Ignatius Semmelweis for suggesting that germs caused, you know, hand washing. You know, hand washing would prevent germs, and that there was this whole theory of germs that was quackery, and then they locked him up for it in a mental hospital. So yeah, there's There's lots of that. I'm not saying that you're paid, Shell. I'm just saying that there are people that are paid to cover this up. There's a lot of effort that goes into covering this all up, and it's. I don't know who you are. I've never met you before. Maybe you just came across this in the algorithm, and this show's not about you. It's not about any of that, but there are skeptics out there, and we welcome them to check out the science on the Fluoride lawsuit website and whatnot. Lots of videos, lots of science on here. I would love to see someone, Carlos, make a whole website called fluoridebullshit.com and go through each one of these studies and provide a counter study and show us why all this is bullshit, and then show us. But I mean, there's so much that's proven that it's not healthy and causes nerve damage at this point. I just I think that you're gaslighting and beating a dead horse at that point. And I'm glad that I'm glad that we're hopefully that they take it out of drinking water globally, and that it costs these people as much money as possible. Not just for the waste disposal, but also I wish they could be held criminally accountable for the brains that they've damaged and the people they've made retarded.
Yeah, most of the world does not add fluoride. I'm
Yeah.
gonna link a document. It's only the US fluoridates more people than all of the world combined.
Yeah, we love poisoning people here, man.
I don't know if the link just came through. I've been trying to link stuff and it rejects it a lot. Maybe if I post too many, I'll put it in the private chat and then you can pull it up.
Yeah, the private chat shouldn't reject anything. It will reject it in the big chat out there, but I can post it there, or I can just share these articles in the into the
Yeah, that one that you're looking at right now is the May JAMA study. It was published in the Journal of American Medical Association. And that one was the first US study ever done on what fluoride does to the brain. And there is another one coming out soon on the IQ of American children.
That's great.
Finally.
That's what I like to see.
We only added this shit to our water for 79 years.
Yeah, I mean, finally, some studies on it and legitimate research into it, And
Yes.
Carlos, I can look you up in JAMA, or you can link to a last name. I can look them up in the. You can see read your studies and your articles too, man. I like to see both sides. I'm not a charlatan. I'm not here to push biased news and say things are one way when I don't have all the information. Everyone can be wrong. We're allowed to be wrong. Everyone's human. We all make mistakes. We all, not all of us could admit to our mistakes. Some of us will take a 7-year lawsuit and fight in court till our last breath to deny that we made any mistakes, and then even argue with people on the internet long after that's all done that we didn't make mistakes. So there's that. You have to be aware that I don't know who you are. I don't know you from a hole in the wall. I know Brenda personally. I've met her and been to a number of conferences with her. And, though I, don't know that neither me or Brenda is almighty guru of truth and the all end all say all on any of these issues, on any of these things. We never claim to be. Some of these studies could be wrong or based on incorrect information or methodologies. That's up for determination in the future, but there's quite a bit of research that supports this. I encourage people to dig into the science and the studies. And if there is a debate on this, then, present it, man. I wish I had more. I don't know if this is really the goal or direction I wanted to go with this is turning into an all out, debate over the studies and the methodologies and the credibility of the people doing the studies and the counter studies and everything else. But it's there. It's definitely a conversation that needs to be had. I don't know how many people are interested in it. You know, I talk about UFOs. I've gotten like 700 people watching me live on a stream, and we can't break 150 on this stream. So I don't know that it's all that, productive. I don't know. I don't know that it's all that. But hey, we're just. I appreciate everyone who stayed with us and
Yeah, I like all somebody said I was pretty. I
Well,
think
you
somebody
are
said
the
I had
love.
a nice hair.
She is the lovely Brenda. So that's how to find her on X and follow her and stuff. So that's great. Brenda's awesome. Pretty and smart, by the way. So
A
thank
pretty,
you.
what do they say? A pretty fart smeller, a smart feller.
Pretty smart fella, yeah. Smart fella. Yeah, that one of those, right? Well, thank you so much for joining us. Again,
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry we're not both PhDs or lawyers and all experts, but it just shows you that ordinary, everyday moms like Brenda out here can get stuff
Yes.
done. They can
And,
get stuff done.
thank you. I'll talk to you soon. All right, Jeremy?
Thank you so much for joining us. It was awesome. I learned so much. I have to go dig into all this stuff and verify it and check it and make sure that you're not lying to me and that Carlos is, really sorry. Anyways, thanks. I'm sorry I spent this should be more about you and your amazing efforts and congratulations again. Way to go, Brenda. Well done. Awesome.
Thank you.
I hope to see you on a million other conferences because I suck at doing interviews and I get distracted easily with my ADD, which is probably a result of all that fluoride I've been drinking.
I know, me too.
So I'm sorry. I apologize that in the audience, and I hope to see more qualified and competent interviewers interviewing you and other members of your team on this historic.
Yeah, I hope my attorney gets on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, that I want to see. Yes,
I think we have an in.
Yes, I think you do too. I sent this to Brett Weinstein, and he's seen it. So
good. All right. Well, thank you, Jeremy.
Awesome.
Have a great night.
Too.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.